Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes life doesn't come packaged the way we expect it to, and neither do people. You pray for strength, done, and God sends you challenges. You ask for wisdom, and you get trials that test your soul. You want peace, and you're handed storms that make you fight for it. You cry out for love, and God doesn't always send you someone who gives it freely. He sends someone who shows you what love isn't, so you learn what it truly is. See, God doesn't give you the people you want. He gives you the people you need. People who will push you. People who will test you. People who will break you open, wake you up, stretch you thin, and make you question everything so you can grow. We all want comfort. We all want affirmation. But growth doesn't live there. Growth lives in discomfort, in disappointment, in rejection. That's where the lessons are. That's where the stretching happens. There are people who walk into your life like a blessing, and people who walk in like a lesson. And you need both. The ones who frustrate you, they teach you patience. The ones who betray you, they teach you boundaries. The ones who love you through your worst, they teach you grace. And the ones who walk away, they teach you to stand on your own. Don't curse the people who came and left, done. Don't resent the ones who hurt you. Don't question every closed door or unanswered prayer. Sometimes your rejection was God's protection. Sometimes the ones you lost were saving you from who you were becoming. God gives you what you need, not what you want. This truth sits quietly in the background of life, often ignored until we're faced with situations that don't match our prayers. We ask for comfort, and instead we get challenged. We pray for peace, and we find ourselves surrounded by chaos. We seek the perfect person to walk into our lives. And we are met people who test our patience, trigger our wounds, or stretch our character in ways we never expected. Done. That's because isn't in the business of making us comfortable. He's in the business of making us better. Done. What we want is often shaped by our desires, our fantasies, our limited understanding of what we think will make us happy. Done. But what we need is rooted in a deeper, divine understanding of what will shape our purpose, our growth, and our destiny. One is short-sighted. It's about the now. It's about ease and instant gratification. We want people who agree with us, who praise us, who never challenge us or make us uncomfortable. But God sees a version of us we can't yet see. He sees the full picture. And sometimes that picture requires friction. It requires the presence of people who will confront us, disappoint us, challenge us to grow in character, done, and force us to look in the mirror. Because the truth is, some of the greatest transformations in our lives come from the hardest relationships, the toughest conversations, and the most painful moments. We don't want to hurt. We don't want to struggle. But strength is not developed in comfort. It's developed in resistance. It's in the difficulty that our character is tested, our patience is grown, our faith is stretched. That's why God doesn't always send the people we want. He sends the people who will reveal something inside us that needs attention. Maybe it's pride. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's the need for control or the inability to forgive. The people he sends, whether they stay a season or a lifetime, are never random. They are part of a divine lesson plan. When we look back on life, most of us can recognize the pattern. The friend who betrayed you taught you not to give your trust away too quickly. Done. The partner who walked away reminded you that your worth isn't tied to someone else's choice to stay. The mentor who challenged you showed you how much more you were capable of. Even the stranger who crossed your path for only a moment could have been a messenger carrying a truth you needed to hear. These people were not accidents. They were assignments, but in the moment it's hard to see that. It feels like life is unfair, It feels like your prayers went unanswered. But the truth is, they were answered, just not in the way you expected. You asked for strength, and you were sent people who forced you to grow strong. You asked for wisdom, and you were sent situations that demanded discernment. You asked for love, and you were given people who made you define what love really is. Beyond emotion, beyond words, beyond convenience. Want is loud, need is quiet. What we want screams at us, telling us what would feel good, what would make us happy right now. But what we need whispers. It speaks in the language of growth, and it doesn't always make us feel good. Sometimes it breaks us. Sometimes it humbles us. But always it transforms us. That's why in hindsight, we're often grateful for the very things we once begged God to take away. There are people who walk into our lives wrapped in challenge, not charm. They don't come with a bow. They come with a mirror. They show us our blind spots. They uncover our weakness. They hold up the truth, even when we don't want to see it. These people are a blessing in disguise. And while we might not recognize it in the moment, time has a way of revealing their purpose. God's gifts don't always look like gifts. Sometimes they come in the form of loss, conflict, discomfort, or delay. Sometimes what looks like a curse is a blessing dressed in a disguise we don't yet understand. That's why it's dangerous to measure God's goodness by how much we get what we want. Because if we're honest, what we want isn't always what's best for us. And if he gave us everything we asked for, we might miss out on the deeper, greater things he's preparing us for. Growth comes through discomfort and challenges. That's a truth we often overlook because discomfort doesn't feel good. It stretches us, pushes, unsettles us. We naturally resist it. We seek ease, security, and familiarity. But none of those things create transformation. They maintain the status quo. They allow us to stay the same. Growth, done. Real growth begins when we are forced out of our comfort zones, when life brings us face to face with pain, pressure, and uncertainty. Think about it. A muscle doesn't grow unless it's challenged. You don't get stronger by lifting what's easy. You get stronger by lifting what's heavy. The same applies to your spirit, your character, your mindset. We don't become better people by avoiding difficulty. We become better people by facing it. Discomfort exposes our weaknesses. It reveals the gaps in our thinking, the limitations in our beliefs, the areas of our lives that need attention. It humbles us. It tests us. And if we allow it to, it refines us. Challenges are not just obstacles. They are opportunities. They are divine tools to chisel away the parts of us that are no longer serving us. The parts that are rooted in fear, insecurity, or ego. When life gets uncomfortable, it's not always a sign that something's wrong. Sometimes it's a sign that something is being made right inside of us. We are being shaken out of complacency. We are being awakened to our true potential. Most people pray for growth, but they don't pray for the process. They want the outcome without the journey. But there's no shortcut to transformation. You don't become patient until you put in situations where you have to wait. You don't learn resilience until something knocks you down and forces you to stand back up. You don't gain wisdom without making mistakes, without failing, without learning through real experience. Life teaches through experience, and experience often comes wrapped in discomfort. Discomfort is not the enemy. It's the signal. It tells you that you're stepping into new territory. It tells you that something is changing, evolving, maturing. And while it may feel like loss, it may feel like uncertainty, it may feel like you're being stretched beyond your capacity. That is often the very moment when growth is taking place. The challenge is not to avoid discomfort, but to understand it, to respect it, to move through it with the awareness that something greater is happening. Even in nature, growth takes pressure. Seeds have to break open to grow. Caterpillars struggle to become butterflies. Trees withstand storms to grow deeper roots. Nothing in nature grows without some kind of resistance. And neither do we. So when we encounter tough seasons, we must learn not to run, not to shrink, but to lean in, to ask what this season is trying to teach us, to see the challenge not as a punishment, but as preparation. Comfort can lull us into sleep. It can create a false sense of security. We start settling for less than we deserve, settling into routines that no longer serve us, settling into roles and relationships that keep us stagnant. Then life steps in with a push, a discomfort, a challenge, and it disrupts that comfort, not to destroy us, but to wake us up, to remind us that there's more inside us, more ahead of us, but we won't reach it by staying where we are. Growth through challenge also builds something far deeper than skills. It builds character. It reveals what we truly believe, who we really are when things fall apart, and how much we're willing to trust when there's no clear path ahead. It forces us to develop courage, faith, persistence, and humility. Those qualities aren't built during the easy times. They're built in the trenches, in the quiet, hard moments when no one sees the struggle but you. We often look at successful people and admire their results, but behind every achievement is a journey marked by pain, doubt, failure, and perseverance. You can't skip that part. The challenge shapes the person, and it's not just about external success. It's about internal strength, because what you build inside yourself during hard times, no one can take from you. That becomes your foundation. That becomes the well you draw from when the next storm comes. So don't be surprised when the road to growth gets uncomfortable. Don't be discouraged when things don't come easy. Growth was never meant to be easy. It's meant to transform you, and transformation always requires a price. That price is often discomfort. That price is often challenge. But the reward is always worth it. People who hurt you often teach the most valuable lessons. It's a difficult truth to accept because pain has a way of blinding us. When someone betrays us, disrespects us, or walks away without explanation, our instinct is to protect ourselves, to close up, to build walls around the heart that's just been cracked open. But pain has a purpose. It is one of life's most honest teachers. The people who hurt us, whether intentionally or not, often become the mirrors that show us what we would never see on our own. It's easy to learn from those who support us, who love us well, who treat us with kindness. But those people usually reinforce what we already know. It's the ones who hurt us that introduce us to the parts of ourselves we haven't dealt with. They trigger the insecurities we've buried. They expose the fears we've hidden. They highlight the boundaries we never knew we needed. Sometimes they even show us the version of ourselves we've outgrown. When someone lies to you, you learn the value of truth. When someone manipulates you, you begin to recognize the power of self-trust. When someone takes you for granted, you're reminded of your worth. Pain teaches through contrast. It shows you what love is by revealing what love is not. It shows you what respect is by letting you feel the sting of disrespect. It sharpens your vision. It helps you see clearly where you were once blinded by hope, attachment, or denial. There are people who enter your life not to stay, but to shake something loose. They disrupt your patterns. They reveal your vulnerabilities. And in doing so, they offer you a chance to grow. Not everyone who comes into your life is meant to walk with you forever. Some people come to play a very specific role, to teach a lesson that could only be learned through experience. That lesson may hurt. It may break something inside you. But that breaking often makes room for something new. New standards, new wisdom, new strength. Done. Sometimes we hold on to the pain because we think letting go means the hurt didn't matter. But it did. It shaped you. It opened your eyes. Done. It forced you to take a deeper look at who you are and what you allow. The pain wasn't meaningless. It was a turning point. That person who let you down or walked away didn't destroy you. They revealed something that needed to be healed. And healing only begins when truth is faced. It's not about bitterness. It's not about revenge or keeping score. Done. It's about extracting the lesson and releasing the rest. Carrying the pain without the lesson only keeps you stuck. But when you decide to see clearly, to ask yourself why it hurt, what it exposed, what it taught, you begin to reclaim your power. You begin to see the experience not as something that happened to you, but something that happened for you. Even betrayal has a message. It tells you who's really for you. It shows you who deserves access to your life. It teaches you to listen to your intuition, to notice red flags, to stop ignoring the feeling in your gut. Every time someone shows you their true colors, you're being given information. Done. The pain may come from seeing them clearly for the first time, but that clarity is a gift. It allows you to stop building castles on shaky ground. Done. There's also a deeper level of learning that comes from hurt, the way it develops empathy. When you've been broken, when you've cried quietly at night, when you've questioned your worth because of someone else's actions, you gain the ability to feel for others. Done. You become more compassionate, more understanding. The pain you went through becomes the reason someone else might feel seen, heard, or less alone. Done. Hurt can make you harder, but if you let it, it can also make you softer in the right places. Done. The lessons we learn from hurt often stay with us the longest. Not because we're weak, but because we're human. Done. Pain has a way of engraving truths into our hearts. The key is not to let the hurt define you, but to let the lesson shape you. You don't have to carry the bitterness, but you should carry the wisdom. Some of your most painful experiences will become your most powerful insights. The people who hurt you didn't win. They simply helped reveal the strength, the awareness, and the boundaries you needed to find within yourself. Rejection can be divine protection. In the moment, rejection feels personal. It feels like failure, like loss, done like something precious slipping through your fingers. Whether it's a person who walks away, an opportunity that closes, done, or a door that never opened at all, rejection leaves behind a sting that can feel like a statement about your worth. But the truth is, done. What we see as rejection is often redirection. It's not always about what's being taken from us. It's about what we're being saved from. Done. We tend to chase after what looks good on the surface. We pursue relationships that feel exciting, jobs that promise status, done, paths that match our expectations. But we don't always see the whole picture. We don't see what lies beneath the surface of that opportunity. Done. We don't see the consequences that might follow if we had gotten what we wanted. That's where divine protection comes in. Sometimes, done. God closes a door because he knows what's behind it will cost us more than we're ready to pay. It's hard to see that in the moment. Done. Our vision is limited by emotion. We want what we want, and when it doesn't work out, we assume something is wrong. We question ourselves. We wonder if we're not good enough. But rejection doesn't mean you're unworthy. It doesn't mean you weren't capable or deserving. It simply means that particular door was not meant for you. And when you begin to trust that not every open door is a blessing and not every closed door is a curse, you start to see rejection in a different light. Done. There are people you thought would be in your life forever who left without warning. There are dreams you chased that never materialized. Done. There are moments where it felt like everything was slipping away just when you thought it was coming together. Those rejections weren't the end of your story. They were part of your redirection. Done. They were detours designed to protect you from the version of success or love that would have broken you down instead of building you up. Done. Protection doesn't always come with explanation. It often comes in silence, in confusion, in moments that don't make sense until much later. Done. What you call a setback today may turn out to be the space you needed for something better to unfold. Done. What you saw as a loss might have been the beginning of a gain you couldn't yet imagine. The job you didn't get could have saved you from burnout, done, compromise, or an environment that would have drained your spirit. The person who walked away might have freed you from a future built on false connection. I've done unmet needs or unhealthy patterns. We're taught to pursue, to push through, to never take no for an answer. But sometimes, no is the most loving word you'll ever hear. Sometimes, it's the only thing strong enough to pull you back from something not meant for you. Done. Divine protection doesn't ask for your approval. It asks for your trust. It's easy to trust when things go your way. The real test is how you respond when they don't. That's when faith becomes real. That's when character is built. Done. That's when you learn to let go of control and lean into surrender. Not every rejection is about punishment. Sometimes it's preparation. Sometimes, done. The very thing you thought you needed was too small for the calling on your life. Sometimes you were aiming too low. You were settling for something that didn't match your true value. And God had to take it away. Not because he was being cruel, done, but because he was clearing space for something that actually aligns with who you're becoming, done. You can't carry what's meant for you while holding on to what was never yours, done. Rejection also teaches you resilience. It reminds you that your worth isn't tied to anyone's acceptance. It teaches you to stand in your truth, done, to keep moving, to keep growing even when it hurts. It pushes you to build a foundation that isn't built on other people's approval or life going your way. Done. That kind of strength can't be taught in comfort. It's forged in the fire of disappointment, confusion, done, and learning to keep your heart open in the face of closed doors. Done. The rejection you feel today might be the reason you are strong enough to say yes to something greater tomorrow. Done. It might be the very thing that forces you to dig deeper, to discover new parts of yourself. Done. To stop chasing validation and start living from your own center. Not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Done. Some things fall away because they were never meant to stay. Done. And some of the things you thought you needed were only blocking the things that are truly meant for you. Every person in your life serves a purpose. Done. Whether they stay for years or only cross your path for a moment, no encounter is random. Life has a way of placing people in your path exactly when you need them, even if you don't realize it at the time. Some people come to support you, done. Some to challenge you, some to test you, and others to teach you. Each one brings with them a lesson, a mirror, a message, done, or a moment that becomes a piece of your story. We often assume that only the people who love us, who uplift us, done, or who remain loyal over time are the ones who matter. But there are people who break your heart, who betray your trust, who misunderstand your intentions, done, and they too have a purpose. They show you something about yourself. They trigger reflection. They reveal your boundaries. They force growth. Their presence, even in pain, is part of the process. Sometimes a person walks into your life and everything changes. They say something that shifts your thinking. They challenge a belief you didn't know you were holding. They introduce you to a new version of yourself. Their role might be brief, but their impact is lasting. You don't need a lifetime to leave a mark. Some people are meant to be chapters, not the whole book. Their purpose isn't in staying. It's in what they awaken in you while they're there. Others are there to guide you. They might be mentors, friends, or even strangers who speak the right words at the right time. They appear during your confusion, your transitions, done, your uncertain steps forward. These are the people who don't always realize the power of their presence. A single conversation, a single gesture, done. A single moment of kindness can reroute a life. Purpose doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, but it's no less significant. There are also people who come into your life to reflect something back to you. They serve as mirrors. Through them, done, you begin to see the parts of yourself you've ignored or denied. Maybe they show you your patterns. Maybe they bring out your triggers. Done. Maybe they highlight your fears or your hopes. It's not always comfortable, but it's always necessary. These people help you face yourself. They push you toward awareness, even if their presence feels like conflict. Relationships in all their forms are teachers. The lessons vary. One person teaches you to speak up. Another teaches you to listen. One shows you how to give. Another teaches you to receive. Some people reveal your strength. Others expose your weaknesses. But every connection, no matter how brief or how painful, done carries within it something essential. You grow through them. You become more aware, more grounded, more aligned with who you're meant to be. It's easy to miss the purpose in the moment. When you're in the middle of heartbreak, confusion, or disappointment, done. You don't always see the bigger picture. But as time passes, you look back and realize certain people were exactly what you needed. Even if they didn't stay, even if they didn't treat you the way you deserved. Their role was not to complete you, but to shape you, to shift your direction, to prepare you for what's next. Not every relationship is meant to be permanent. Some are seasonal. They come with an expiration date, and their departure is not a failure. It's simply the fulfillment of their purpose. Done. Holding on too tightly to people whose role has ended only creates pain. Part of wisdom is knowing when to let go. Done. Part of growth is recognizing that goodbye is sometimes grace. It clears space for the new, for the next, for the aligned. You also serve a purpose in the lives of others. You are someone's lesson. You are someone's reminder. You are someone's reflection. Sometimes you are the one offering guidance, support, or challenge. Sometimes you're the stranger who says the right thing. You won't always know the impact you're having, but it's there. Purpose flows both ways. Every connection is an exchange. Done. Every person you meet is both a giver and a receiver, whether they realize it or not. When you start to see people through the lens of purpose, everything shifts. You stop resenting those who hurt you. You stop clinging to those who left. You begin to appreciate each encounter, each relationship, each crossing of paths for what it was meant to be. You move with more grace. Done. More understanding, more gratitude. Because even the most unexpected person might have been the exact piece your soul needed at that moment. Done. You don't always recognize the lesson in the moment. Sometimes life feels like confusion wrapped in silence, like a puzzle with no picture on the box. Done. You go through situations that don't make sense. Meet people who leave you with questions. Done. And experience detours that disrupt everything you thought you had figured out. It can feel unfair, random, and at times even cruel. But often, the wisdom only arrives in hindsight. The clarity shows up after the storm has passed, not during the downpour. We want instant understanding. We want to know why things are happening as they happen. We want reasons, answers, explanations that make the pain more manageable. Done. The process more logical. But life doesn't work that way. Growth doesn't come with instruction manuals. The most important lessons unfold slowly. They reveal themselves over time through reflection, through healing, done. Through moments when you're finally still enough to hear what the experience was trying to tell you all along. There are seasons where you feel lost, not because you took a wrong turn, but because you're being redirected to something better, something deeper, done. You don't always realize that what feels like delay is actually development, done. That what feels like silence is actually space being made for transformation. You can't see the roots growing under the soil, done. But that doesn't mean growth isn't happening. Some of the most important changes occur beneath the surface, away from view, without applause, done. You might look back one day and realize the door that closed was never meant to be yours, done. You might see how the heartbreak cracked you open in a way that made room for love that's real, done. You might recognize how the rejection pushed you to uncover strengths you didn't know you had, done. But you won't see any of it if you only stare at what went wrong. You have to allow time and distance to work their quiet magic. You have to be willing to see pain as a teacher, not just a thief. Sometimes the lesson is in how you responded, how you stood up again, done. How you kept walking even when everything in you wanted to quit. It's not always about what happened to you. It's about what it called out of you. Maybe the point wasn't to get what you wanted. Maybe the point was to discover who you were becoming in the process, done. Maybe the loss wasn't punishment, but preparation. Not everything that's taken from you is meant to return in the same form. Life has a rhythm, done, a wisdom, a timing that rarely aligns with your schedule. It requires trust. It demands surrender, done. And it teaches patience, not the passive kind that waits and complains, but the resilient kind that keeps showing up, keeps believing, keeps growing even when answers don't come. That kind of patience is forged in the dark. It's forged in the spaces where you feel unseen, uncertain, done, and unfinished. We tend to want the lesson wrapped up with clarity and closure. But some lessons are slow burns. They unfold gradually through repetition, through trial and error, through grace and grit. You might not see the pattern until you've been through it a few times, done. You might not understand the connection between events until you step outside of them. Wisdom isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers, done. Sometimes it arrives as a quiet knowing that settles over you long after the chaos has ended. You can't rush understanding, done. You can't force meaning onto moments that haven't fully matured. Some lessons need time to ripen. They need space to unfold, done. And while it might feel like you're walking in circles, every step you take is shaping you. Every season, every setback, done. Every surprise is a thread in the larger design of your life. You may not see it clearly now, done, but that doesn't mean the design isn't unfolding exactly as it should. When you start to reflect, not from bitterness, done, but from curiosity, you begin to see how all the pieces fit. The people who challenged you, the times you failed, the prayers that went unanswered, done. You begin to trace the path with clearer eyes. And what once felt like a detour starts to look like direction, done. What once felt like loss begins to look like liberation. You start to realize the lesson was never just about what happened, but about who you had to become to rise from it. So trust the process, trust the path, even when it doesn't make sense, even when it hurts, even when the people around you don't look like the blessing you asked for. Because God doesn't give you the people you want, done. He gives you the people you need to shape you, to sharpen you, and to prepare you for the person you're meant to become. Thank you.